Seaman, and I'm back with a new video. It's on our good friend here, Geoffrey Verity Schofield. We're gonna react to the gym, lifting, recruiting, fitness, and possibly gear slave. Anyways, so Geoffrey Schofield Verity says fasting surprised me. My experiences. Okay.
So recently I did a 4-day fast, so 96 hours without eating. But why?
Okay, you did a 4-day fast. I've done a couple of days where I didn't eat anything. It's not really a big deal.
Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
So
Sometimes to correct things, I don't know. If you have stomach problems or something, I don't know. That's why you do it. He's doing it for an experiment, I guess. 44 hours fasted. I would say 44 hours starved. I don't know why they use this word fasted. Starved.
nothing, no calories, no food, no macros. Surely you got in your protein, no protein, nothing for 4 days. So in this video I'm going to talk about my experiences and why I did this, because man, I've gotten a lot of questions about it. So usually I have B-roll footage on the side from one workout. This is actually going to be 3 workouts. The day 2 lower body workout, the day 4 upper body workout just before breaking the fast, and then an arm.
Wait a second. I don't understand. Why would you be working out if you're starving? But anyways, you're not damaging muscles here. You're just exercising them. So, but if you damage them and you're starving, that's a bad thing. You're going to get an apoptosis if you got damaged fibers lifting. So he's just an exercise guy. He's not really damaging fibers. And he's mostly filled with glycogen in his muscles. So he thinks, well, they're like, why would you do that? Starve yourself for 4 days and lose muscle. You're not losing muscle. He's just shrinking the sarcoplasm. This meaningless. It's meaningless because he's never built any muscle.
Day, the day after I was refed. And boy, man, it was a big refeed.
Look, he lives conventionally. He's adapted to his exercises. He's not building any muscle, bro. Get it? Just like when science tells you people that live conventionally, there's much less damage in the second week. Why? Because there's an adaptation process. They got some damage, and then it protects from any more damage. Get it? See what I mean? So I don't know what he's talking about. It happens to everybody in conventional lifting, so they call it newbie gains or genetic limit. There's no more damage after the first couple of sessions.
I noticed was that hunger would kind of go in waves. So around a usual mealtime, you get a bit of a spike in hunger, and then it would.
See, he's still lifting conventionally. He wants to convince you that lifting conventionally, where he failed for the longest time, all of a sudden he got a different outcome. He got bigger. See what I mean? That's not what made him bigger. He expanded the sarcoplasm for sure, lifting conventionally. But what did he take to get the sarcoplasm to expand? He never really said. I don't know. Did he bags full of potatoes, like, complex carbohydrates? Or did he take a lot of creatine? Or did he take some substance to expand that sarcoplasm? I'm not really sure. But I know it isn't based on muscle damage because I've watched his training. His training isn't eccentric. You understand? He's weak. That's why people say he's weak. His lifts are weak. They're light. Look at his lifting. It's all light. It has to be above your 100% max. And you could never do that conventionally lifting. You understand me? Lifting in full range of motion. It doesn't work. Unless, of course, you spend the next 5 hours in there trying to overwork that muscle, lifting heavy, and that eccentric possibly giving you damage. But he doesn't do any of that. He doesn't do that type of workout. Plus, you have to be away from the gym for over a week so that it can resensitize and become damaged again and healed.
Would go away. The next mealtime, bit of a spike in hunger, and then it would go away. I would say that if you are used to eating very frequently, this is going to be tougher. For me, I have a lower meal frequency with relatively bigger meals. Often I don't even eat.
Yeah, why did you starve yourself for 4 days? So you could see if the sarcoplasm shrunk faster than the last time. Because if it was real muscle, it wouldn't shrink even if you were starved for 4 days.
anyway, and so this was a relatively easy transition. Also, if you are used to eating fairly high carbs and you're snacking throughout the day,
there you go.
Probably going to
listen to these people. If you're eating high carbs and snacking throughout the day, why are you eating 4 or 5 meals a day and snacking throughout the day? Because you're starving. You understand me? You're starving. All of you are starving out there because your cells are not getting the required nutrients. They're not absorbing it. They're not absorbing and they're not getting the required nutrients. And these carbs interfere with that. So think about that for a second. Ponder that thought.
A rougher transition just because you are used to relying on food more frequently. And so if you are someone who's eating...
That isn't considered food. It's not food. If your body, there's nothing there, there's no nutrients, there's no food. You're just eating cardboard all day.
Higher carb meals 4, 5, 6 times per day.
Like, listen to it, he said higher carb meals, but he didn't say higher nutrient meal, a high nutrient diet. He says high carbohydrates. What are they? Energy. You're eating energy all day. You're on drugs, dude. Get it?
There's nothing necessarily wrong with that.
What do you mean?
But it's going to make...
What do you mean there's nothing necessarily wrong with eating drugs all day? You're crazy.
Fasting relatively more difficult for most people, and so you might want a more gradual transition to maybe
doing... of course it'll be difficult because your diet habit is based on addiction, dude.
Intermittent fasting or consolidating meals a little bit just to see how you feel. You don't have to jump in the deep end all at once. Now, in terms of energy levels and just how I felt, totally fine. I mean, I would say basically normal, maybe even parts where it was higher energy levels and then maybe a little bit of lower energy, but for the most part, I felt...
Like, listen to what he says, lower energy, higher energy. Yeah, drugs, dude.
Pretty darn good.
Okay.
Sleep was also something that I was a little bit worried about because when I got shredded, that was awful. I was getting in maybe 3 or 4 hours a night, just not being able to sleep through the night and waking up and not being able to fall back to sleep, going to the bathroom in the middle of the night. None of that with fasting. And so being around 15, 16, 17% body.
I like those, what he's doing there, holding on to that thing. Those are kind of cute. You don't have to do that the way he's bending. You can bend forward with your knees, but okay, whatever, man.
Body fat and in all of the deficit versus being 7, 8, 9 and in a pretty small deficit because you have to go slowly when you're really, really lean. Very, very different experiences, and the former was by far better. And I really think a lot of the time people focus too much on the size of the deficit rather than their actual state and their current body fat percentage. I mean, if someone is pretty high in the end of a bulk, you can be a lot more aggressive with your cut. Whereas when you're below 10% body fat, that's when you need to proceed a lot more carefully. So if someone is...
Yeah, that's like a sissy squat, right? He's going up and down. So he's just using that as a rocking motion, which is, I would say, is not bad. Like you can hold on to that, go back and forth, which is, yeah. It's just good for some people.
Pretty darn lean and they're trying to get to stage. I don't really recommend fasting. You need more frequent...
I like those as a body weight exercise. Calisthenic people, they do that for their legs.
Just because you have less energy on your body to actually use. However, for me right now, I have plenty of fat to use. For example, right now I'm about 15% body fat, 95 kilos, 210-ish pounds. I have about 100,000 calories worth of energy in terms of fat on my body. And so when people are like, should I go in a 300 or 500 calorie deficit? It's just so little compared to how much fat you have, and the fatter you are, the more flexible and more aggressive you can be with your approach. And I have seen a lot of people really kind of pussyfoot their diet, where they should be losing more aggressively than they actually are. And there's nothing wrong with taking a slower approach if you found a faster approach doesn't work, but I think a faster approach probably should be the default if you have a lot of fat to lose. As Atlas Power Shrugged, who has talked about fasting a lot, has said, it's a lot of bang.
You're not going to lose much fat or anything. Maybe on the 4th day, your body starts to kick in the fat reserves, but by then, you just lost a lot of glycogen, water, and whatever. The sarcoplasm is shrunk.
for your suck. Dieting is going to suck, but consolidating that suck into a fasted phase is very efficient from my experience. Because honestly, the third and the fourth days were much easier than the first two. Once you are into that fasted state, it's not really bad at all. You don't get particularly hungry, you have plenty of energy, you feel fine, sleep is great, you have a lot more free time.
There are so many activities
To do whatever you want. You don't realize how much time and energy is spent preparing food, eating food, thinking about food, planning for food. There's none of that because there's no food. And I don't think that fasting is particularly marketable because at the end of the day, it's just not eating. I mean, there's wet fasting, dry fasting. Dry fasting is with no liquids at all. Wet fasting, you can have
Wet fasting, dry fasting, okay, whatever.
H2O, you can have
Sure, yeah.
black coffee, which I did consume, and it was nice and helped kind of fill the belly.
Again, look at him. He's lifting conventionally. He uses his arms for everything. How did he get a different outcome? Lifting conventionally, full range of motion at 70% is max rep. His max lifts. How did he get a different outcome?
And reduce the hunger. But it's just not eating at the end of the day, right? And so there's no South Beach, North Beach, Atkins point system, eat this at this time.
That's why I say on the internet, you have to question everything that people are doing because they're faking it and they fake you out. You understand what fake is? Like a magician. They use something called misdirection. They make you believe they got a different outcome doing the same exercise. That is impossible. Impossible.
There's just no eating at all, right? And so
Look, man, people that work, minimum wage jobs, and all of a sudden they're driving a nice car, and then all of a sudden they have a big house, and all of a sudden they have all these things. You have to question. That's why they get audited. They question them, the government, everybody, because they're like, the police come around, and then they discover they didn't make that money, or that they didn't get that car, that house, working minimum wage. You get it, bro? You understand me, man? That's why it makes it more fishy. So when these people lift conventionally like him, they lift in full range of motion, 70% their max, you have to ask yourself this question. You understand me? How did he get a different outcome? Geoffrey Schofield, yeah.
it's hard to sell to people. Plus, to the average person who's eating 5 times a day, standard American diet, you tell them, hey, like maybe just don't eat it.
Those 45 dumbbells are pretty heavy for him, but he's been doing them forever, 45-pound dumbbells. He's been doing them forever, so how did he get a different outcome? Lifting at 70% is max.
At all, and it sounds pretty wild, but it was actually a lot easier than I expected. And the average person is very good at storing fat.
Oh, come on, man. He's doing 50-pound dumbbell rows. Bro, look, if I just stand up and I do these rows with 50 pounds are going to do jack shit for me. They're just too light. And all of it's in his arms, bro. 50 pounds in your arms. It's not even on your back. So it's even lighter than it would normally be. Look, if you're using your arms and your ass cheek squeezing your back, very little is going to be placed on the back muscles. Maybe 20 pounds from each dumbbell, and the rest is on your arms. Get it? So there's nothing going on there.
That pathway is extremely developed through years of practice, right? But they're not very good at using fat.
That's how you know this. What happened was he's adapted to these exercises, so it takes on a life of its own. So he did something to draw more of this, whatever, to expand the sarcoplasm. He increased the volume of his lifting, and like he said, carbohydrates all day. So carbs, whatever, and maybe even took a substance to increase the sarcoplasm. I can't tell you for sure. I don't know. He's in China. He's based out of China, okay? So they have access to these drugs there.
So releasing it, oxidizing it, using it as a source of fuel. And so because they have been eating many times per day, often higher
Yes, they've been oxidized, this as fuel. Yeah, okay.
carbs, often a bunch of junk food, just
Sure, yeah.
snacking, they are good at burning fat, right? So they have a lot of fat on their body, often hundreds of thousands of calories,
Sure.
but they are just not very good at accessing it.
Okay.
Fasting forces you to access that.
Oh, okay.
By the way, this video is sponsored by Boost Camp, so whether you're in a
I don't want to know about boost camps.
I was right back to where I was. I had an incline, dumbbell PR, or equaled it at least. And so, if you look at performance across the fast, maybe not necessarily during it, performance has been totally fine. And so, I don't think I've lost any muscle whatsoever, despite being in probably a 3,000 plus calorie deficit per day for 4 days in a row. And so when people are like, oh, I don't want to go into more than 500 calories, I'm going to lose muscle, that is usually based on a lean body mass, not muscle. Yeah, you're going to lose water.
You know, you can carry up to 20, 30, 40 pounds of poop in your intestines, in your stomach and intestines. You can carry a shitload of poop. That's a lot of poop to be carrying in there. So let's say this guy's fasting for 4 days. Well, he's still got a lot of leftover crap in his body. You know what I mean?
You're going to see a big dip in scale weight, but that is not necessarily indicative of muscle loss. Across the
Like I curve my eating patterns sometimes. I curve my eating patterns, and I noticed then all of a sudden I start shitting a lot. A lot of shit comes out. And I'm like, holy shit, that's a lot of shit, bro. Because your intestines, your body can hold a lot of shit, can keep a lot of shit in there. You know what I mean? So you got to get rid of some of it. If you start feeling bloated from eating a lot and doing certain things, it's time to relax, take it easy, stop eating for 1 or 2 days, and just allow the shit to come out. You understand me? Or just eat one piece of meat or something during the day, the first day, the second day, or whatever. Just eat maybe a couple of eggs one day, a couple of eggs the next day. Just eat very little during the day, and especially in the morning, don't eat anything, and just let the shit come out, bro. That's it.
Fast, I went from 98.1 kilos down to 94.2 kilos, so about 4 kilos in overall body weight lost, so almost 9 pounds. And you have to
So he lost 9 pounds. Okay.
realize that you're not going to maintain that lowest body weight. So once you start to refeed, you're going to get a couple of days, maybe 3 days even, where your weight.
Why would you refeed? So you can have the rebound effect. You'll start to gain more weight. If you refeed a lot after you've starved yourself, your body's going to rebound and gain a shitload of weight.
Is going to be up, but it probably won't go up above beyond where you started.
Okay.
You do this, you can. It's a matter of either willpower or managing your food.
Yeah, and he lifts conventionally. He lifts full range of motion. He's adapted.
Food environment. If you say, oh, I'm going to do a 3-day fast, don't have a tray of cookies in front of you that is going to be sapping your willpower. Okay, ideally, don't keep bullshit food in the house. Now, if you have a family,
Yeah, if you're around any like fake food, you're going to start consuming it. Then you're going to get addicted to it. You're going to consume it like crazy.
kids, obviously, you might need to have snacks and other bullshit for them. Clearly don't have kids. But it is a matter of managing your food environment and then kind of just plowing through when the hunger hits. Because it will hit, but then it also will almost certainly pass as well.
This makes no sense, but
thinking
whatever.
about how I haven't eaten in 3 days. Like, look at all these other postprandial, pretty decent track record with having answers to a lot of things.
What exactly are those doing? What are they doing for you? He lifts like all these phony people, bro. Look at him. He's flying these weights like from the bottom, if anything. Your arms, the weight is on your arms. It's all the way out there. It's not going to do anything. You need a close grip and then pressing it. That's where all the damage happens. This isn't going to do jack shit for you because you can't lift heavy doing flies.
Some other things, not some.
It's like, look, he's almost pressing it, but not exactly. But it's a fly. It's whatever. It's like these shoulder exercises people do. They ass cheek squeeze their shoulders.
Much, but I think fasting, it's kind of ubiquitous.
It's just useless, man. He's just pump training. This is sarcoplasmic training. This is sarcoplasmic. You just know. You can tell.
But it's across a lot of different cultures.
Okay, whatever.
Now, is this the key?
Lucky,
maybe some hormonal stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a very intense sensation of eating because none of that has been turned on at all.
Look at him. He's like pressing these really hard down. Whatever, man. This is funny.
For days.
For days, yes.
More of a burn than usual, especially on the leg extension.
Yeah, that's it. If you do it slower, full range of motion, that'll make it better. Yeah, okay.
I would just get that burning appetite when they are sick. Let's say you have some kind of cut or wound.
Okay.
I would prefer to have higher quality training and more frequent training as well.
I'm sure you would.
Fat, it's going to be a little bit individual, but I think
look at him ass cheek squeezing this. It looks funny. Look at him. Look at him trying to squeeze it down.
At a certain point, fasting just doesn't make...
Push, boy. That's it. Push, boy. See, these fucking people, bro, they all trying to make you, convince you that they got a different outcome doing the exact same exercises. You know, if you want a different outcome, you need to do something different. And it ain't ass cheek squeezing, dude.
A lot of sense, and you're probably going to need to eat a little bit more.
No, this doesn't make any
Lyle
sense.
McDonald has championed this.
Oh, come on.
I found that hunger...
Look at him. He's barely moving it. Isometric, concentric. There's no eccentric here. It's bullshit. Look, watch.
And just appetite and energy levels were actually slightly better.
That was just dumb. Let's see that again.
Yeah, if you're...
Look, watch this.
7% body fat or something, that's really good advice. But if someone's 17 or 27, it's just...
Look at him. He goes up really slow, down, whatever.
It's just...
This is isometric, concentric. Nothing going on there. Ass cheek squeezing.
You're going to diet way too slowly compared to what...
Okay, whatever.
A good idea, especially if you're on the leaner side. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
And look, he got a different outcome. Yes. Hooray.
And thank you for...
See? He got a different outcome. I know in the photos, everybody's legs look small because the lighting and the way they're standing, and then the legs look small. Obviously, you could see he had legs, right? And because he had it in better lighting before. But in certain lighting, when you take photographs or something, for some reason, the legs always look smaller than the upper body, bro, in a photograph. When in fact, your legs are probably massive. Because in the past, my legs were massive. My legs are still pretty big. Not as big as they used to be, but they were much bigger in the past. And then I've got a photo. People will say, well, your legs are smaller than your upper. Some bullshit. No, man, I'm proportionate. My legs were pretty big anyways, but whatever. I was always proportionate all over. He's proportionate all over. This sarcoplasmic anyways. It doesn't really matter. It's sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, bro. Because of his lifting. I know from his lifting, it's sarcoplasmic. But anyways, I'll see you in the next video. Tell us what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. Because he can't lift much heavier. He doesn't lift heavier. Because if it was based on myofibular growth, you could lift astronomically heavy. Look, these steroid people, when you see them, they look really big and everything. You think that's muscle. If that was actually myofibular growth, bro, do you know how fucking strong they would be? They would be massively fucking strong, bro. They could bench press 1,000 pounds or more probably. But they can't because it's sarcoplasmic. They didn't build any myofibular growth. Why? Because they're lifting conventionally, bro. They're lifting full range of motion. You don't get a different outcome. You get the same outcome, but then it becomes sarcoplasmic training. I think people don't even understand that. You understand me? Look, I'll show you in this video, okay? What the outcome is going to be there. Just a second here. So here it is. Excuse me. Hold on a second. Where did it go? There it is. Muscle fiber hypertrophy in response to 6 weeks of high volume resistance training in trained young men is largely attributed to what? Sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. And that's what he's getting. Okay? Oh, man. Ridiculous shit. That's his training, bro. I'll see you in the next one. Tell us what you think about that. Like, subscribe, support the channel. I gotta go. This was ridiculous.